My name is Heather Schulte, the creator of the Stitching the Situation collaborative art project, which documents COVID-19 cases and deaths in the United States through cross-stitch. Each stitch represents one case or one death. The cases are blue and the deaths are red. This block is representative of the people who tested positive and who died on April 11th, 2020, as reported by the Johns Hopkins University COVID tracker. My uncle was one who was tested positive on April 11th, and he sadly passed away on April 13th. As of right now, we have about 140 people working across the United States on this project. Each of those stitchers has a kit. This one is from February 22nd of this year. And they are working diligently to fill in each of these with stitches of their own designs, and they will be sharing through this video of their own experiences and their own blocks. These first panels, there's about 40 feet, represent the dates from January 20th, which is this little stitch right down here, which was their first reported case in the United States, all the way through June 25th. And then as of June 26th, each date is represented by a kit. These panels from the first portion of the project will be stitched in in-person stitching sessions, which will bring people and communities together to work together to document the effects of COVID in their communities and each other and share their stories while holding space to grieve and process what's happened. Each stitcher is free to fill in their block as they see fit. Some stitch meditatively, at random. Some choose meaningful symbols, things that inspire them, images that remind them of what makes them happy. Sometimes things that make them laugh. Or complex designs inspired by the pandemic. Some have honored people, whether in portraits of healthcare workers, stitching obituaries, or creating images in honor of those they've lost. Others are inspired by events also occurring during the pandemic, or our new pandemic vocabulary. Many have turned to their environment, inspired by their local landscape. Many have chosen inspirational quotes, seeking refuge in the power of words. People stitch together with their families and coworkers.
Hi, I'm Ann Spooner, and I got involved with the Stitching the Situation project because I thought it was a really great way to sort of cope with the whole pandemic by working with embroidery. And of course, the theme itself was also, of course, a big draw as well. And the other thing too has been, I think, the idea of a collaboration type of project, which I like, even though it's distance collaboration. All those things just sounded really appealing, and it's really been an overall really great experience.
I am Dana Moses, and this is my block for July 8th, 2020. when I was trying to figure out my design and how I wanted to fill 60 some thousand squares of blue. I was really inspired by nature and really comforted by the fact that when our human world kind of went to pieces and everything was different, the birds kept migrating and the plants kept blooming and nature carried on as normal. And so I was inspired by natural things in the area where I live and chose to stitch different plants and birds and insects as my design.
Hi, my name is Joyce. I'm from Montana. I got involved with the Stitching the Situation project through the Holter Museum in Helena. I was intrigued by this project since it is a group art project. I've never done something like that. Over the pandemic, I've tried a few different art projects and was either not inspired to finish them or I wasn't sure what I'd do with them when I'm done. So this one is inspiring because the whole community will be involved and it will be on display somewhere, hopefully. I'm 6 weeks in and have so much work to go. That's another part of this project that's really weighed heavy on my heart. I had October 20th as my date, so well before the worst of the surges, although certainly a terrible day for many people, and 60,000 stitches. I can only imagine the number of stitches in this whole pandemic, and it's really put things into perspective on the number of cases.
Hi, I'm Anna and I live in East Tennessee. In March 2020, I began sewing and donating countless masks. While I love sewing, making mask after mask wasn't the most fulfilling creative project. When I heard about Stitching the Situation, I was so excited to find a new creative outlet and to be a part of a larger art project. I stitch a little bit every day. It's wild to remember that each of these stitches represents a person. During 2020, my family all had COVID and we sadly lost people close to us. I chose my design because keeping my hope in God and not this ever-changing world has given me strength during such a devastating time. Recently, I was able to get my COVID vaccine, and that day I stitched with a sore arm but a heart full of hope and thankfulness. I love being a part of this project and adding my own stitches to the bigger work of Stitching the Situation.
Hi, my name is Katie Brennan and I am from Cleveland, Ohio. And this is actually the second cross-stitch project I have worked on as part of Stitching the Situation. And I have to say this project has been so incredible. I never had cross-stitched before taking part in Stitching the Situation, so I've been able to learn a new skill. I've been able to express my anxieties through this artistic means, have something to do with my hands while I've been anxious about family and friends being sick with COVID, or social distancing taking a toll on my mental health, or the economic concerns that so many people have had. And so being able to take part in this and develop a new skill, express myself artistically, has been so essential in getting me through this tough time. And I'm really excited that I've also seen some really positive things happen in my life and in the country since starting this project, since starting my first stitch, including the mass vaccinations of so many Americans, including myself. As I film this, I'm getting my second shot tomorrow. So to see kind of an end in sight and to be able to talk about being at this intersection of deep fatigue and new beginnings is really impactful for me. And I'm really excited to continue to take part in this project as our country starts moving out of this terrible, challenging time.
This block was stitched by my mother while recovering from the first of 2 knee replacement surgeries during the pandemic. She's now at work on the second block while she's recovering from her other knee surgery. It's inspired by log cabin quilt patterns. My mom taught me how to cross stitch when I was about 6, and her love for sewing and all things involving thread, yarn, and fabric inspired my own endeavors. If not for her, this project likely wouldn't even exist. This block represents the U.S. COVID data from June 27, 2020, where 42,877 people tested positive and 500 deaths were reported. This block was stitched by Teresa Moses, who writes, "This is a tough time. Americans have survived difficult times before, and we will again, as we work together and carry on. This design was influenced by my years as a fourth grade teacher that taught Nebraska history." Her block's design was inspired by the video game Oregon Trail, which is part of the Nebraska history curriculum for elementary school. Her block is from July 9th, 2020, where 57,602 people tested positive and 930 deaths were reported. This block was stitched by Natasha, who writes, "Participating in this collaborative effort helped me feel part of a community, even though we were social distancing and living through lockdown after lockdown. The block was finished 2 days before we left Germany to return to the States, so even though it represents U.S. data, it has international roots." Her block represents September 20th, 2020. 39,844 new cases were reported and 250 deaths. This work is ongoing as the pandemic is not yet over. Stitches are at work all over the United States, and more are joining as we speak. As the weather is warming, I am scheduling in-person stitching sessions with the public to work on the panels together. As vaccinations increase and restrictions ease, I will begin taking this work to sites of care and places COVID has touched deeply to offer space to reconcile our experiences and reconnect our communities. I am currently working on having everything translated into Spanish so that this project is accessible to Spanish-speaking communities in our country, as they have been one of the most hardest hit populations. As blocks are completed, they will be returned to me and exhibited together with the panels, creating a timeline of a multitude of stories during the pandemic.